Good morning, everyone. How's everybody doing?
Yeah.
I think the clicker is working today. I think, knock on wood. Glad to see everybody. I'm glad that the construction hasn't kept anyone away. Good to see, but you did now know what to experience as you're walking up here. Going through the back, we're going to hopefully get some lights back there, so it's a little bit lighter on the back side. But now you know what's going on. One quick reminder about the schedule. Next week, we're meeting again. Of course, Dave Ferguson will be leading the meeting, leading the lesson. The next week is our proverbial spring break, and then we'll be back to go through Easter, and I think April the 20th is our last week. But just so you know that in 2 weeks, we will not be meeting. I'll send you out an email reminder about that, but just so you know. Harold Skaggs has an announcement to make.
Well, most of you know that there's been some consideration about building another Community First micro home. And last week, the boss, Brian Millington, and the rest of his crew went out to stand on the slab and look and try to make a final decision. And the final decision was, as it was so aptly put by Harry Evans, the lift is just too great. And that is, the slab was in a difficult position. The length of any rate, the lift was just too great. So we are not building at this time. We do have a good relationship with Community First, and they have promised us that when they get to the next phase and the next group of houses that they'll give us another opportunity. And just so you're aware, and I've told this to someone else, I said, I think this is the way they manipulate us, but they say, you are the only volunteer group that we allow to come out here and build. So I think we got the hook in our mouth. Thank you.
Thank you, Harold. One other quick note, I'm wearing the Oakland A's today. I called Oakland A's because it'll be hard to get used to not saying it. It's not one with Barnes on the back, one of the rare jerseys I'll ever wear that doesn't say that, but it's signed by Jose Canseco. He was down in New Braunfels a few years ago, and I got it signed from Brandon. Don't tell Brandon, I stole it from his wall. I got to put it back on his wall. But I was realizing, Kim and I went to Boise this week for a business, and as we were traveling, I saw something on Twitter from a thing called, it's a uniform group that I'm a part of. You'll probably laugh about that. But anyway, it showed that this jersey is actually coming back for the A's this year. And I was like, I wonder why they bring it back, but they're limited to the number of jerseys. But then I realized that half of their jerseys say Oakland on it. They can't use that anymore, and they don't have anything that would say any other city name. So they have to have something that says A's or Athletic. So they're bringing this one back. All right, let's stand and let's sing. Fall afresh on me, Spirit, living God, fall afresh on me. Let me be Let's pray. Oh, Heavenly Father, thank you so much for bringing this great group of men together. Thank you for what you teach us every day of the year, but especially during Lent. Thank you for reminding us the sacrifices that you gave for us and that we're now giving for you. We bless everything in your name. Amen. So today we're talking about love. Now you may be saying, whoa, Mike, we did that last week. Well, it's a little bit different. Last week we talked about loving God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. Well, this time we're talking about loving others. We're talking about loving each other, talking about loving groups, loving families, loving work, just loving, as opposed to just loving God. And I don't know about you, but when you talk about love, it's hard to talk about love without mentioning 1 Corinthians, because that is, in so many ways, it is the love chapter in the Bible. I don't know about you, but it was read at my wedding long time ago because it's such a great multitude of verses. And so I want to talk about 1 Corinthians real quick. And yeah, it's not red letters that I'm talking about. We will get to that in a second. But 1 Corinthians 13 talks about love, but it's agape love, godly, selfless love. And Paul, as he writes in 1 Corinthians, has 14 descriptions of love. Love is patient. Love is kind. Love always trusts. Love endures all things. 7 of them are very positive things that we think about with love. If I can bring it up. Oh, there we go. Those are the good things, I guess you could say, about love. Not that there's a bad thing, but you'll see where I'm going in a second. That, again, he talks about 14 things about love, and half of them are the positive. Love is great. Love is this. Love is this. But he also talks about deceit in 1 Corinthians, about what love is not. What love is not. And in this respect, he talks about love does not envy. Love does not boast. Love does not delight in evil. Love never fails. He's bringing up the deceit part just to remind us what love doesn't do. But think about how we love one another, how you love not only your spouse, not only your kids, not only your mom or your dad, your best friend, how you love each other, how you love this group, how you love this church, how you love the people that you work with, how you love your neighbors, how you love everyone. And I know it's all different. We love different people different ways, yes. But we use what Paul writes about in 1 Corinthians it kind of describes the way we love and the way we don't, because we don't want to do the deceitful part. We don't want that part to be there. But how do we keep love coming in the unrighteous way? How do we focus on the truth? And again, how do we focus on love? Well, today we're going to look at John 15:12. That's our red letters part, when Jesus actually says something about love. And this time he says, "This is my commandment, that you love one another as I have loved you." Short and sweet. This is my commandment, that you love one another as I have loved you. Think about that for a second. It's another commandment. It's not a suggestion. It's not a bit of advice. It's not an idea. It's how he feels about love and how we should feel about one another. But then use what Paul wrote in 1 Corinthians as we're thinking about how we love things, how we love everything that we do, how we love each other, how we love this group, and how we love all the groups that we're a part of. That some of them have to do with love, and some of them have to do with not being on the deceitful side, not having the envy, not having all those things that are a part of not loving someone. We want to love in such a great way. And I've got stories to tell you as we think about how we're showing love and how you go out of your way for someone when you love someone, how you do something extra special for someone when you love someone, because you're not being boastful, because you're not being envious, because you're not delighting in evil, because it's love. It's all about love. And usually I tell stories about me. I'm going to spare you today. I want to tell you a couple of baseball stories. The first one has to do with a guy named Jimmy. He was born James, but he always went by Jimmy. His parents called him Jimmy. His friends called him Jimmy. His baseball teammates called him Jimmy. Everyone called him Jimmy. He had no other name that anyone ever called him but Jimmy. He was a great baseball player. He was a pitcher, and he did so well that he was ready to pitch in college. And then after high school, he gets drafted by a major league team. And that major league team that drafts him says, "Here's some money. You're going to get $75,000. This is in the 60s. So $75,000, very good money. It's good money now, but really good money in the 60s. So here's $75,000. And the owner of the team that gives him the money then says, "Now, do you have a nickname?" He says, "Yeah, Jimmy." "No, but do you have a nickname?" "Jimmy's the only name I am. I'm Jimmy." Well, here's the deal. I want you to repeat after me. When you were a kid, you went out fishing. You ran away from home to fish. And when they finally found you, you had caught 2 catfish and you were reeling a third one in. Repeat that after me. So Jimmy said it back. He said, that's your new name. Your name is Catfish. That's how Catfish Hunter got his name. Charlie Finley was the owner of the A's back then. Of course, it was the Kansas City A's and then the Oakland A's and soon to be Las Vegas and someday soon. They're playing in Sacramento this year. But anyway, and that's one of the reasons why I'm wearing the A's today. He'd only been Jimmy. Had no other name. Yes, given name James, but Jimmy. And some of you may have had that name, that type of thing where you've only had one name, no matter what is on your birth certificate, one thing you've been called all your life. Now you're 18 years old and the owner of a team says, your new name is this. Well, what does Jimmy Hunter do? He had choices, he had options, but because of his personality, because of the love he had for his new owner, who just gave him $75,000, for his team, for his teammates, and he said, sure, I love this. I'm going to go with my new name. And he became Catfish Hunter. And if you ever got a baseball card, it didn't say Jimmy Hunter, it said Catfish on his plaque in Cooperstown because he was one of the best pitchers ever. It says Catfish. On his gravesite, he passed away from Alzheimer's a couple of years ago. On his gravesite, there's a large tombstone that says Hunter, and it shows his autograph where it says Jim Catfish Hunter, but down the plot says Jimmy. But he had no problem because of his love for the people involved. He had no problem going with, okay, well, I'm now an A, I'm now an athletic, I'm going to become Catfish. And for the next, whatever that would have been until he died, 45 years or so, he was Catfish Hunter. Which again, just to broaden your mind about love, because I don't know about you, but when I think about love, I think about, oh my gosh, I love Kim with all my heart, with all my soul, with all my mind. Yes, I love my wife. But love is about so many other different things. And Catfish Hunter shows us that our love can be broadened to even loving the people we're around who may suggest you do something else. And if someone comes into the church someday and says, this whole men in the word thing, I just don't understand it. What if you call it something else? And I don't want to start a rumor like we're going to change it, because we're not. But my love for the church, I may say, sure. But we show our love in different ways, don't we? Well, Charlie Finley, again, the owner of the A's, I could stand up here for an hour telling you about different things that he did through the years, from orange baseballs to other ideas, pinch runners, all kinds of things. When he saw what he did with Catfish Hunter and the popularity that came out of it, because just a couple years later, Catfish threw a perfect game, and then he got him to he became a 20-game winner, and things were looking great, and all this popularity because of his nickname. So Charlie Finley, being a master salesman, decides, I'm going to do this again. So in 1971, he's got a pitcher named Vida who wins 10 games in a row before the All-Star break. Back then, they threw a lot more, so they were able to win more games. And Charlie has this great idea. As a master salesman, he says, I'm going to change Vida's name to something to make money off of it. So he calls Vida in, and he says, okay, here's the deal. I want you to start going by True. His name was Vida Blue. Now he's going to be True Blue. Because he saw True and thought, with True Value, I might could sell some naming rights here. And he was way ahead of the game, Charlie Finley was. And he said, now at the time, Vida Blue, this is 1971 again, Vida Blue was making $14,000 a year, which is good money in 1971. $14,000 a year. Charlie Finley offers him $2,000 to change his name. legally. He wants him to legally change his name, to, sign documents where it becomes True Blue. And Vida Blue says, no, I'm not going to do it. Now think about that $2,000. In today's world, that's basically a seventh of what he made. So in today's world, if you're making $70,000, it's offering him $10,000 bonus. $140,000 a year, you're getting $20,000 raise just to change your name. At the time, $2,000 sounds small today, but that was big back then. Vida Blue says no. Was that deceit? No, actually, it's Vida showing his love. Because Vida Blue says, no, Vida means so much to me. Because in Spanish, Vida means life. And Vida Blue was Vida Blue Jr. His dad was Vida Blue Sr. And his dad had passed away just 5 years before at the age of 46. And to honor and remember and recognize my dad, Vida Blue Sr., I always want to be called Vida. I don't want to be called Blue. And that's how he showed his love for his family, for his heritage, for his name, was to avoid the proverbial deceit that Charlie Finley was suggesting. So he stayed Vida Blue. And in 71, he finished up winning the Cy Young and the MVP in the same season because he had such a good year. But hopefully you see where I'm going is that love isn't a simple little narrow corridor. It's so broad that you can describe it in so many different ways. And here you have one baseball player who loved his family, loved his owner, loved his teammates, loved everything, said, sure, I'm going to become, my family is now baseball, I'm Catfish. And you have one who said, I love my family, I love my father, I love my name, I'm going to stay Vida. Two opposite ends of the spectrum, but they're both talking about love. And that's what I want you to think about today as we talk about these questions that we're going to look at here in a second. Because love is such a big topic and such a broad topic. There's so many things to think about, but how does love affect you and what you do each and every day with all the different people that you deal with? Family, friends, coworkers, people at church, everybody. Here are our questions. Why is loving others a command and not a promise? Remember, Jesus said, this is your commandment. Why is loving others a command and not a promise? When do you feel loved by Jesus? When do you feel loved by others? And how do you show your love for people, things, groups? I'll put etc. in there. Thank you.